How you doing, YouTube family? How you doing, TI family? This is Reginald. I'm coming back at you. Today I'm gonna do a little rambling, talk about a few different things, and then these are a few things that came up on my heart, that came up on my mind, that I just wanted to talk about. Okay, what I wanted to start off with is basically this is going out to my TIs out there. You know who you are. I'm not trying to pinpoint anybody out or anything like that, because there's a lot of TIs out there. But first of all, what I wanted to say, I wanted to let the TIs out there know that everything has an agenda. Okay, so us as being TIs or targeted individuals, sometimes we have to sit back and we have to try to figure out what's the agenda of us being targeted individuals. Now, like I said earlier, everything has an agenda. Anytime you go to war, anytime you have any type of political stance, anytime you have any type of political election, anytime you have anything where you put in a voting system or anything like that, everything has an agenda. So, for a lot of TIs that come on YouTube, it seems like I see a lot of, these are the main two things that I see a lot of TIs talking about. So a lot of TIs talk about race, and a lot of TIs talk about religion. But like I was saying earlier, we have to sit back and we have to look past the religion, and we have to look past the race, and we have to find out ultimately what's the agenda as us being targeted individuals. I know I said in my earlier videos, okay, government, we have various types of organizations, and religion. But like I stated earlier, the main thing is deals with the government. So basically, this is what I think. I think the government ultimately has the control of everything. Now, with that being said, right? So you just look at it. For you to be put on this government watch list, the government had to allow it. Now, one thing that I do notice is a lot of TIs that became TIs, all of a sudden, a lot of individuals said that they were awakening, that they were starting to wake up. Now, when you go back and you look at this social media, right? YouTube, Facebook was real big, Instagram, Twitter. Okay, so remember, everything has an agenda. So remember, sometimes the government or the powers that be, they plan out things years ahead, all right? Because they already have that agenda. So now when you go back and you start looking at, individuals that was all of a sudden they started to claim that they started having awakenings. Now with that awakening, if you notice, that's when a lot of individuals, they start to stray away from their different religions, right? So the main religions are who we got: Catholicism, we got Islam, right? And we have Christianity, and what? Judaism. I think when you talk about far as religion wise, right? Okay, so with those main four religions, if you notice, when everybody started to having this awakening, then a lot of individuals started to stray away from those various religions. And then that's when a lot of individuals started to take it upon themselves, and they started to get into what they're calling this new age religion. So, and I have to admit, I started to look at some of that stuff myself, where you were starting to delve into what they call the occult knowledge, things like that. Some this knowledge was the knowledge that you had to be part of various organizations to get this knowledge. But then all of a sudden, when individuals start having enlightenments, and that's when individuals took it upon themselves to start looking at different things like that occult knowledge, or what they say, the hidden knowledge. So when those individuals started to wake up, right, then if you notice, that's when a lot of things started changing. A lot of things started to evolve, right? But that was far as just dealing with the religion. But remember, I said everything has an agenda. The government knows years ahead, and I don't know how did they do that. Some people have their own assumptions, but I'm just gonna go leave it right there. Whatever you think, you think. So now we have religion. A lot of people are leaving out of those other religions, and they're getting into what they're calling those new age religions. Now, ultimately, I'm not trying to get into any race or anything like that, but what I started to notice, even with myself, if you're dealing with the African American community, a lot of African Americans, they started to get into what we call Hebrew Israelite knowledge. They started to get into Moorish knowledge. They started to delve into somewhat occult knowledge. And I'm pretty sure probably some of the other races, they started to look at some of that occult knowledge also. I don't want to make this a racial thing, because I know it's bigger than that. But so now we have people that's getting away from those four main religions, and they're getting into what they call this new age religion. And then that's when a lot of people start leaving those churches, those synagogues, or and things like that, and they started to practice their own, I'm not necessarily going to say religion, but their own spirituality, right? So from there, right, remember, everything has an agenda. So right there, we already have changes. We already have evolving. So as the government knew, right, that this enlightenment was going to come, remember that they know things already ahead of time, right? So that they knew that the American public, at one day, a lot of people was going to start to get enlightenment. A lot of individuals, they started to post different things on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, some of that occult knowledge, some of that knowledge that dealt with race, some of that knowledge that dealt with different subject matters. And then if you knew next, then that's when the government came up with the executive order. I think it's a Homeland Security executive order. I believe it's 1233. Was basically, that's where they were talking about, okay, they were talking about domestic terrorism, right? So if right, when they came up with that executive order, or that Homeland Security order, then that's when different things such as the FBI, the CIA, right? The NSA, that executive order gave them the authority to start going online, right? Social media sites, observing those social media sites, checking out people's telephone lines, sending out personnel to see what type of books you were buying from Amazon, what you were renting from the library, what information or what knowledge you were seeking out. So if you were out there trying to basically find out who you were, right, and you posted different things on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, right, then that's when that executive order came into effect, that they can put you on this terrorist list, right? On this Homeland Security domestic terrorist list. So a lot of individuals that's currently out here that are targeted individuals, a lot of those individuals end up on that list and became targeted individuals is because you posted different types of information online, and then that gave those different organizations the authority to put you on this list. So that's how some of us became targeted individuals. Now, if you notice with these targeted individuals, basically what I think that a lot of us was already watched from the day that we were born. That's what I think. Because remember what I said, the government, they know things years ahead of time, all right? So all they had to do is they were already knew that the way you grew up, right? The situation that you grew up in, they already knew that you were affected to some extent, right? So they already knew that. So all it took was for them they knew that eventually that you will be one of the ones that was awakening. They already knew that. All right, let that be understood. They already knew that eventually that light bulb was poof, and that you were going to eventually waken. So when you started to wake up, the government, they already had to have something set in place that can stop you. All right, we needed to lower you, because who's to say if you would have kept going, right? And I don't necessarily want to get into any type of spirituality, any type of religious thing, but if you were to keep going, then who's know that what you could do or what kind of effects that you will have on the American people. All right, but that's basically what they're doing out here. For you to be put on this targeted individual list, it's because that they know most of the time that you have already awoken. And by you awakening, the information that you start putting out, then you can start waking up other individuals. All right? But the government has to come in, and they have to stop that, because if you awaken, and then you wait the next person and the next person, and then it keeps going, and then there you go, you have that domino effect. Now, with that, right, just be aware for my targeted individuals, right? Just be aware of the information that you put on YouTube, the things that you say on YouTube, because that's the main reason when you get into race, especially race, religion is what it is, but when you especially get into race, things of that nature, then that's some of the same things that got you put on this terrorist list from the start. So I'm gonna ask my targeted individuals, just be aware of the things that you say on YouTube, the things that you put on Facebook, the things that you put on Instagram or Twitter, because definitely by you being a targeted individual, Those different organizations such as the NSA, the FBI, and the CIA, they're already looking at that, all right? So for my targeted individuals, just be aware that you know you're already being watched. So just be aware of the things that you say on YouTube. Be aware of the things that you say on Facebook, Instagram, like that. You know, things like that. Because, like I was saying, everything has an agenda, right? The government, they basically already knew who you were, most likely from the day that you were born. Okay, let that be understood. The government already knew who you were from the day that you were born. Okay, so they already knew that one day that you will awaken and you'll figure out that, hey, basically a lot of stuff that's going on is not right. All right, so basically what you need to do when you get on YouTube or you get on these different social media sites, basically you need to ultimately think about what you're putting out. All right, remember that everything has an agenda. All right, now with some of these other organizations, right, these members of these various organizations, they already know what's going on. All right, they're already privy to the information, some of it to a certain extent, so they already know what's going on. All right, so just be aware, you know, because I know a lot of targeted individuals were not necessarily associated with these various organizations. I'm not necessarily going to go into detail of what they are or who they are, but we're not necessarily associated with these various types of organizations. So, but I would ask for my TIs, you know, for my targeted individuals, just be aware of the things that you put out on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, Twitter, and the things that you say. Okay, just be aware of that, because, like I was saying, everything has an agenda. And as far as us as being targeted individuals, basically what we need to do, we need to try to come together. All right, like I've been saying, we need to leave that religion. We need to leave religion, spirituality. We need to set race, you know. And if you have some type of sexual preference, we need to all put that to the side and come together so we can try to figure out and come up with a means of how to end this. All right, that's basically what we need to start doing, you know. And I know as being targeted individuals, it seems like it's so hard for us to get together because you don't know who's a perp, you don't know who's a gang stalker. And then another thing that I wanted to say, I've been watching a lot of targeted individuals, YouTube videos, and some of the things that you say, some of this information that you putting out can easily discredit you as being a targeted individual. All right, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that people, if you're a targeted individual, that you're crazy, that you need to be in some type of mental institution. But for my targeted individuals, when you come on YouTube or you come on here and you're presenting different things, just be aware of the words that you say. All right, because some of the videos that I watch, it can be used to basically discredit you. All right, so just think about what you're putting out, you know. And you don't necessarily have to go into detail all the time, but ultimately, as being a targeted individual, and you know that you're a targeted individual, you don't want to sit here and make a video, you know, where you discredit yourself and you discredit other targeted individuals out there. All right, and at the end of the day, everybody got problems. All right, so, you know, some people think just because, you know, you don't have this problem or you don't have that problem, everybody have problems. All right, and then another thing, is everybody got a good side and everybody got a bad side. All right. So night and day. And that's one thing to remember. Cause just like I've been saying, there's no man, no woman out here that's God. And there's no man, no woman out here that's Jesus. Or, you know, if you want to say Jesus, you want to say Yahshua, Yahshua, however you want to present that information. But just remember that everybody got problems, and then it's up to that person to figure out their own problems. And then if they need to go get help, they go get help. But with this targeted individual program, that it takes that away from the individual. All right. So basically, why, by me being on this targeted individual program, why do I need to know? Why do I want everyone else to know what I'm thinking or how I'm feeling? Last thing I knew, I thought everybody had free will. All right. That's basically what I thought. I thought God gave that, or the great creator, he gave everyone free will. But man is basically trying to take that away. All right. And that's all I have, YouTube family. Y'all have a blessed night. Make sure you're drinking water. Make sure you're eating right. Make sure you're taking your vitamins. Like I've been saying, I'm not a doctor, but while you're on this program, just make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and make sure you're drinking plenty of water, because a lot of these, with these DEW weapons and these things like this, with this various types of radiation, it will really dehydrate your body. But everybody have a blessed night, have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you later.